Welcome to Deep Thought. Hard to think in survival mode. It's hard to think. I was thinking about that. Now, I'll share a little bit about me. I've shared a little bit about this on my money channel because I've said publicly, and this is, how some people talk about doxing you and stuff? Oh, I'm heading them off. You won't find this information, but I said, credit was so bad I couldn't even get a job with it one time. But there's been some tough periods. There's been some tough periods in life, and I'll say survival mode. Like, I just give an example. You ever get to that point where you got a lot of bills always in cutoff mode? That's when you know. I can laugh about it now because I got through it, but it was still tough. Like you just making just enough money just to get back. In fact, even as much as I talk body game, there was a point where even though I was a member of a gym, I had just enough money to pay for gas just to go to work and back. Oh man. But got through it, and that's cool. But I would say one of the things that's a problem, it's tough to think on survival mode. Now, I went through my period, but see, that was just that was strictly a valley. I had been at a top level, so, just had to, all I did was just do the things to get back to that top level. But what about somebody who's never been to that top level? You have a significant part of the population that are living on survival mode. Like, you have people who are working on jobs. They're working on jobs and they're still homeless. That's something that's not talked about. You got a lot of working poor, or you got a lot of people. I saw like a video. I didn't really watch it, but these people were making like nearly $20 an hour and living in vans and everything. And people will say, well, they got a van, but no, it's still survival mode. Like when you struggling every day, you got to pay Peter, take your chance with Paul, or you may have to like really search for that place you can get some food for cheap, or I remember a real low period. You had to get some food, like you go to some stores, whatever they don't sell that day, they'll give it away. Yeah, it was at that level. I have no shame in saying that. I have no shame. Probably will do a book on how to get out of that. That's one of those books I really need to write. Really like how to get out of it. But a lot of people just don't get out of that mode. And how can they think? Like it's easy to say. It's even easier for me to say, oh, okay, just work on that business, work on this. And you worry about your lights getting turned out. Or you can't really eat anything. Now, every now and then, my stomach will growl while I'm watching this. That's because I always do this before I eat anything. I do these usually early in the morning, and I don't really eat until like the afternoon. I engage in intermittent fasting. Most I do is drink some water or something. But what about if you're in a situation, lunchtime come, you can't even eat? I mean, that's a big deal. I mean, you got kids out here, and only time they might get a meal is if they go to school. That's survival mode. That is survival. There's so many people. Maybe living in, I'll say, a bad conditions. I remember I saw a clip from a video about rats in New York. Rats, and they were in somebody's apartment. The rats were so bad, the rats was asking the cameraman for some food. One time to leave, just like, so like, oh my God. That's survival mode right there. How can you really think? I can talk thinking, I can say, hey, think, but if you can't take care of basics, or if you're worried about the latest bill, or if you get a toothache, let's talk about that. That medical thing is significant, because I remember reading about a group of doctors, dentists and stuff. It'll be a whole group of them. They'll go city to city, and might be several of them now, and they'll just give free dental work and stuff. There was a clip of free dental work. And I remember one of the people who got that dental work, they said, if their teeth was hurting or something like that, they just had to take like some medicines, like some pain-killing medicines and everything. That's survival mode. Because if your tooth is hurting, how can you really think? You know, and your stomach growling because you actually don't have food. Not because it's early in the morning, you recording a video, but you literally don't have anything to eat. Because I was thinking about that, right? Okay, I bet you that joke around about that stomach growling thing because I don't eat in the morning, but as soon as I finish a video, I can go to an expensive restaurant and get appetizers, all that, and don't miss the money. I'm not in survival mode, but what about the person who is? You know? What about the person who is? How can they think about it? They trying to like keep a roof over their head. It's something to really think about, because if you look at most of the world is not living well. Most of the world is not living in, you know, like I saw some from South Africa. South Africa, you still got those shanty towns, you know, and you still got the favelas. And even in the States, people don't realize even something like a housing project or a trailer park is actually a step up from a lot of people. But comparatively, it's still not as good as some people. But then you also got tent cities. That's some real survival mode. That's some real, you got like whole tent cities and everything. And, you know, and like I said, some people in those places are actually working. They still bringing in money, but it's still a survival thing. It's hard to think about it because the thing about survival mode, you thinking about the next moment. You thinking about the next meal. You thinking about where you're going to sleep peacefully. You think you might even be at that thing like those, like what I call street hustlers. And I don't mean like selling drugs or anything like that, but maybe you have to beg or something. Shoot, you might not be sure if you even have money for your next meal or something. You know, how you going to think ahead? You can't be thinking, okay, let me make this plan, this plan, this plan, you know? And they probably not watching this video because they say, look, let me just get a basic phone, maybe to call somebody. And that could be problematic. Despite what people think, smartphones and things of that nature still have not reached saturation point, which means everybody got it. I mean, it's tough. It's tough, you know? It's tough. Just going through it, I understand it. Just going through it. That's part of the reason why I do the things I do, especially on my money channel. And, you know, overall, even though I'm known to talk about male-female relationships, you know, ultimately it's about surviving in life. But how can you even think about it? Seriously. How can you even think about it? Because it's hard to think. You just thinking about the next day. You can't do those plans. You know, and then, you know, I could say, hey, do some videos and everything. Well, shoot. As far as I know, those Go phones, prepaid phones, they ain't the best for taking videos. You know, I had one, even though I could afford more, but I was just being cheap. But I had one of those until I said, hey, I can make videos with it. Let me get an expensive one. But the next person couldn't say that. And it's tough. It really is, because you're just thinking about the next moment, the next day. You know, you can't be thinking, oh, do this. Shoot, just survival, depending on where you're at, protection and everything. I want people to think about that. And I think that's a major issue that goes beyond anything I can talk about. It's a societal thing where we have to realize, yes, we ourselves might be blessed. People watching this video and everything and definitely feel blessed, but everybody don't have it like that. So it's hard for them to think, to get into some deep thought. You know, they more or less saying, look, I'm just trying to get a meal. They look at Rom and say, yeah, Rom, you don't look like you're missing a meal. And I'm not, but I'm not in survival mode. Because here's the thing, and this because I've had that experience where I was in survival mode. Now that I'm not, I'm thinking, trust me, Ron be thinking about a lot of stuff, because I'm like, oh, hungry. Oh, let me just go over here, you know? let me go get a random meal or something. You know, that steak meal's looking good, but not in survival mode. But I was thinking about that, and I was like, some other people aren't there. And, you know, I could cliche say, well, you know, be thankful you're blessed that way. But still, though, overall, when you have a society where so many are suffering, it can affect your life at some point. It's just a question of when and how much. Even if you just see it and you feel bad, it's still affecting your life. And that's the thing. That's the thing. And trust me, I'm actually thinking about how I can help those types to get out of that. Trust me, Rom always got plans. But you know, it's a funny thing. When I was actually going through it, I couldn't think of how to help everybody else. I'm just trying to get some food for myself. I'm laughing about it now, but you know, just kind of laughing to keep from crying because it was tough, and I feel bad for people going through it. And you know, I would just say this: as best as possible, try to have sympathy. And I'm saying this as I'm not the most sympathetic person, but I do feel bad for people who having trouble just thinking because they so much on survival mode. So I want y'all to think about what I just said. Really think about it. And, you know, what you can do to maybe help. Now, I'll just say for myself, I'm not big on charity or anything like that. I'm really not. I'm the type, instead of giving someone a fish, I'd rather teach them how to fish. That's how I look at it. That's how I look at it. So, and that's, you know, what I try to do with my money channel especially. So, anyway, something to think about, all right? And I'll get back with y'all tomorrow. Peace and blessings.